Okay, so before you on the screen in front of you is a diagram of the patterns of seasons and how they are affected due to the ecliptic, the celestial equator, and where the horizons are, but mostly where the equinox points are. So we have the Aries equinox, all right, first point of Aries, March equinox, here at this conjunction between the ecliptic, where the ecliptic 23.5 degrees meets, and also the equator, or the celestial equator, which is the ecliptic, and as it reaches its outermost from the celestial sphere, which is the container of 360 degrees, which all the seasons orbit within. Now the ecliptic is on each side of the ecliptic. As a review, we have the zodiac, which is on 8 degrees of the ecliptic, equaling a 16 degree path. These planets intersect these signs at this point, and that creates the beginning of the spring equinox, and at its opposite, the autumn equinox. Okay, so in a minute I'm going to show you how that projection is taking place. Here you have the sun on the equinox point, okay, and as it rises to meet the celestial equator, right, which is the end or the top of it, you'll have the June solstice, or the 0 degrees Cancerian summer right here at this point. So these are solstices points. The December solstice, Capricorn, is the most southern region where the sun declines into winter, and here, as the sun rises following this ecliptic path, it enters the June solstice, which is the 0 degrees Cancerian point, which starts our summer. So these are 4 points that you need to pay attention. Is the first point of Libra, all right, the September equinox, but it really starts in Virgo, all right, but it's just generally showing you where these points are so that you see how the season goes. March 21st through April 19th is considered spring, and that's where this is. So we're going to start this rotation so you can see how this actually happens, and how the seasons are created. Okay, now we first view March 21st, April 19th as spring, and then it moves into Taurus, which is still spring, April 20th through May 20th, spring still, as it moves along the ecliptic. All right, in the seasons, now it's in Gemini, and now it's in the summer as it reaches its top, and then it goes into the next part of summer, and then it circulates into summer autumn, which is Virgo. Summer autumn goes into autumn fall, Libra, as it comes around its cycle. Autumn fall, October, Scorpio, and then fall winter, the autumn fall winter, Sagittarius, and then it hits December, winter, the winter solstice, and goes into Aquarius as it returns back to winter spring. It goes into winter spring, Pisces, and then it goes right back into spring. So that's the rotation. Alright, here's an idea that I'm working on. It has to do with the seasons. You have Aries, Taurus, and Gemini is spring. You have Cancer, Leo. Actually, from here to Leo is summer. And then from autumn, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, autumn, and then winter kicks in around here. This is actually winter, but it kicks in right here. And then winter and then you have winter, spring, and then spring again. So here's my rendition of comprehending the seasons with reference to time, and how the sun can stay in a particular season for like a month, because there's 12 months to a year, but yet you have sunrise and sunset within a day. Okay, keep in mind that this is 360 degrees of a circle. This is the latitude line or the ecliptic line, and these longitude lines are your hourly points, for which we will express right now. Okay, so as you can see, within the circle is divided into quadrants of time zones. And these longitude lines set the time zones from sunrise to sunset. So we're going to show you how the sun enters each quadrant. The sun rises or changes every 2 hours, from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. to 12 noon, high noon, right? And then it starts to descend, because this is actually the 90-degree point, and then it starts to descend 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m., and then sunset. So let's show that. So here you have the two suns. One is showing how the 2-hour intervals for every daily motion of the sun from sunrise to sunset, and the other one is the interval, 1 degree intervals per month. 1 degree intervals per month equaling a seasonal direction. Now you have 3 months in a season, but each month registers a different sign. Okay, and so we're going to show how within the season of spring, how the sun changes, and how the timing of the rise from the rising sign or the rising day, which is 6 a.m., to the setting, which is 6 p.m. So here we go. The sun rises 2 hours. It rises 2 hours again to 10 a.m. It rises 2 hours again to 2 p.m., 12, and then it keeps rising until it gets to sunset. And that's considered a day, all right? But then you have 12 hours underneath. So you have 12 hours above the horizon and 12 hours below the horizon. All right, now you actually didn't see the sun change a bit. But what this sun does is now it's on a slower clock, registering 1 degree, one of these degrees, as it goes through 1 degree per longitude per day. So by the time this sun reaches the rest of the 12 hours, which equals 24 hours, the sun will click into the 2nd degree of Aries. And this sequence keeps going until it gets through the whole season of spring. The sun, the sun goes around, it's 12 hours, every 2 hours. Every day, the sun now on another day clicks into another longitude point of that season. Okay, let me say it again. The sun travels from sunrise to sunset, and then that's 12 hours above the horizon. This is the horizon line. Okay, so you see the sun coming up the east, on the east side, and then it sets in the west. And then it goes underneath for 12 hours. Midnight, 2 a.m., 4 a.m., 6 a.m., and then it rises again. But so this sun clicks into the next degree, 1 degree per day, every 24 hours. 1 degree of longitude per day. And then as it's going through the season of Aries. until it reaches its 29th degree. Here it reaches its 29th degree, and then the sun ends up in Taurus, the next part of the season of spring. And it starts that whole sequence all over again. 24 hours, clicks into the first degree of Taurus. 24 hours again, it clicks into the second degree of Taurus. It spends 1 month in each sign, transiting at 1 degree per interval, or as they say, 1 degree per longitude. And these are the longitude lines. These are the time zones that set the timings of the natal birth chart.
Ancient Indian and Greek cultures divided this great year into 2 halves, ascending and descending cycles of 12,000 years each. Each half was comprised of 4 parts. The Greeks called them the Iron, Bronze, Silver, and Golden Ages. The great sages of India called these ages yugas, and they were divided into the Kali, Dwapara, Treta, and Satya Yugas. The Iron Age, or Kali Yuga, was a dark time for civilization. The Golden Age, or Satya Yuga, was the age of enlightenment. As we look deeper into the universe and expand our knowledge of its motion, we've come to realize that single suns are more the exception than the rule.
Here is a representation of our solar system that is familiar to most of us. You will notice that all the planets revolve around the Sun in the same direction. That is, they all move from left to right when passing in front of the Sun, and from right to left when traveling behind it. The reason for this goes back to the origins of our solar system. Each star system starts out as a swirling mass of gases and dust particles, which eventually coalesce into a central sun, several planets with their moons, and various other orbiting bodies such as comets and asteroids. The direction of orbit is the same for all bodies within a system because they all come from the same original rotating mass. Even our own moon follows the same direction of orbit as the other planets. Now, if we were to take this view of our solar system and turn it up on end, so to speak, we would place ourselves at a vantage point above the solar system looking down at the north poles of all the planets. For the purposes of this demonstration, we will confine ourselves to the 4 planets closest to the Sun. From this vantage point, you can begin to see where astrologers got the idea of an astrological chart wheel. A chart wheel is, in fact, a snapshot of our solar system taken at a precise moment in time. Over the millennia, astrologers have developed a system whereby the heavens are divided into 12 equal segments known as astrological signs. The name of the astrological sign corresponds to the predominant constellation that is located in each of the segments. We know these signs as Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. It is easy to see that each of the planets at any given moment occupies one of the signs of the zodiac. In our example, for instance, Mercury is in the sign Gemini, Mars is in Libra, and Venus is on the borderline between Capricorn and Aquarius. This type of chart is called a heliocentric or sun-centered chart. While it is used by astrologers for some things, it is not the type of chart normally used in personal horoscopes. For individual chart interpretation, astrologers use a geocentric or earth-centered chart. The modification for a geocentric chart is to simply put the Earth at the center of the chart wheel. This practice is based on the belief that if you want to examine a person, place, or thing, it must become the center point for all available influences. You can see that in a geocentric chart, all of the planets and the Sun appear to revolve around the Earth. In this system, the Sun is no longer at the center, but actually is put in a position where it occupies a zodiac sign just like the other planets. So in our example, both the Moon and Venus are in the sign Leo. The Sun is in Virgo, Mercury is in the sign Libra, and Mars is just entering into the sign Aquarius. So when you hear someone say, "My sun sign is Libra," or "My moon is in Gemini," it is this geocentric point of view to which they are referring.
In arranging the houses, signs, and planets, there are 3 charts or wheels, and each chart overlays the other like using 3 transparencies. They are the houses, numbered 1 through 12. They are the signs, numbered 1 through 12. And then the planets, which there are 7 planets. The first basic chart, there are 12 fixed houses related to experience, and each number from 1 to 12 tells us the department or area of life by which that experience will take place. This wheel never moves. It is a fixed matrix. And there are the 12 signs of the zodiac that act like adjectives to change the meaning of each house throughout the day. And the 7 planets, 5 mathematical points, namely the north and south node, the ascendant, midheaven, and part of fortune. The north node is very much likened to Venus and Jupiter, beneficial to any sign or house is placed. The south node is more attritional and similar to Mars and Saturn, and is destructive to any sign or house it is placed. The 12 fixed houses are numbered from 1 to 12 and are related to experience and as the departments of life that are itemized following this segment. The zodiacal signs rotate over the houses and depending on latitude. On average, change the house meaning every 2 hours throughout the 24-hour period. By doing so, each house is modified, qualified, or specified by the influence of the zodiac sign passing over it. Each planet is also modified, qualified, or specified as it passes through the signs. And during the 24-hour rotational period of the signs, any sign or planet may be over any house at any given moment.
Okay, this is ASTROPREP FUTUREKEYS Productions. My name is Eric J. Lasassier Sr., and I'm your cosmic guide. Today's subject has to do with this design, and you're actually seeing a lot of maps, reference maps, but I like to clear up some
some misconceptions on some ideas that people may be thinking when they get into the metaphysical sciences. All right, first of all, there is no Team A and Team B. All right, there's a conglomeration of thoughts that creates consciousness on a higher plane. We need to consolidate some of these ideas instead of creating little pigeonholes for ourselves. The idea that I like to bring up today has to do with this section here. This section here is the higher gear of what we call our precession of the equinoxes, or the precessional ages. And each age lasts for 21,600 years. And there's a misconception about how the signs are misconceived with ages, and then the ages of the sun going through its signs having to do with the seasons are misconstrued with the ages that are coming from the precession of the equinoxes. And then as it trickles down, then we get confused with what's geocentric, which is earth-centered when you're projecting from an earth view as a platform, and then that creates the sun to be part of that spectrum that you're seeing rising and setting. And then as opposed to heliocentric, which means that if you were using the sun as the center and then viewing everything from that perspective. So there's really no confusion. There's just consciousness about each perspective that can be utilized in both references. So we'll start with the constellational ages. Now each age lasts 2,160 years. And if you look at the screen, you'll see that the Piscean age, and I put this star here, indicate that the age is right now at the end of the Piscean age, getting ready to go into the Aquarian age. And the ages, just as I mentioned, for the gears, one gear is going in one direction. So in the gear of the constellational age, due to the precession of the equinoxes, the gears are going backwards. So the ages go backwards as the gear rotates in that direction. When you come into the seasons, Aries rises. So that gear goes up in the clockwise direction. And then, so as this Aries, Taurus, Gemini, all of that rises in the season of spring. Aries, Taurus, Gemini is spring. And then they overlap in the conditions to create the seasonal condition, which is consistent, has nothing to do with the constellations. They are just signposts and guiding posts to see a higher horizon having to do with the higher, how the star patterns are with reference to the ages. But when you're here on terra firma, you're looking at the seasons that we're in. When you look outside of the earth, using it as a platform, you're seeing the seasons never change. Each season is predictable. You know when summer, winter, autumn, and spring comes. Okay, you have spring, and then you have summer, and then you have autumn, and then you have fall and winter. Or autumn is fall, and then you have winter. So, and this clock works. I mean, if you look at it, there's no reason to change the signs due to the constellations moving. They're not in the same position. It's unheard of, because they're only stars. They were created to give a reference point, and they happen to be in the same signs due to the constellational ages moving in that direction, but their longevity is 26,000 years. The seasons, they last within a year's time. You go through all the seasons based on the sun. And then the Earth, from the Earth perspective, you're more guided by the moon and its transits, which lasts 28 1/3 day, not even a whole month. So these ideas are misconstrued, okay? And to think that you have to take Team A or Team B to understand what these gears in reference to what we're being guided by. If you have religious orders and people believe in that God is directing us, why do you have so many religions that fight one another, saying that they're the correct ones when they should collaborate the effort, just as we're doing with the systems that we operate under? They collaborate and work together if they're so positive about what we are. We're constituent parts of a whole, just like these maps are. And so we need to learn how to utilize these maps with reference to our growth. We're all thrown in this ship of 360 degrees together as constituent parts of one another. And so we need to learn how we can advance in utilizing everything that we are and the tools that we have for our future consciousness. You know, I'm going to go into detail about these particular references. Okay, I left out a significant part that I wanted to cover. The precession of the equinoxes, I wanted to bring out a realization. Okay, now I brought this little point out. I had it right here, but I forgot to show you. See these little lines here? These are lines of like 360 degrees, these lines. Okay, then you have them over here in the chart. This is called a natal birth chart. This has a Aries rising, but they change every 2 hours because the signs change every 2 hours as they rotate around this environment, these house environments. But the main focus that I want to point out is that on the ages due to the precession of the equinoxes, each of these little pieces, right? Let's say that even on a as above, so below, on the highest scale, you're still operating within a 360 degree circumference of a circle, but yet the timing factor is longer. Just like the distant planets are further out and they're cycling circles around whatever planet. The planet Earth takes longer. Like Pluto is way out there. All right, Neptune is way out there, so the duration period in its cycle is longer. The closer it is to the sun, the shorter duration. All right, so here's my point. My point is on a gigantic scale. First of all, looking at our seasons, the sun transit goes through, let's say that each house is 30 degrees, right? And 30 times 12 is 360 degrees. So that puts all of the signs having to do with 30 degrees. But so when the sun transits, it gives everyone a birthday. And it has to go through one of these little things, these little slits, which indicate that each degree of each house system, each house department, and each one of those little lines equals 30 degrees. Now, when the sun transits through its monthly transit, going through, say, Aries, it'll go in 0 degrees and go to 29 degrees. But each degree that the sun makes is 1 degree per day. Right? As this Aries sign rises, it goes through 1 degree per day until it reaches the last part of Aries in that season of spring and brings in through its 30 degrees Taurus at 29 degrees. It's the 30th degree of that month. You have to contemplate that. But I'm showing you how the sun in its seasonal condition goes through 1 year of its transit through all of the signs at 1 degree intervals. Now here's what I want to show you. On a gigantic universal scale of the precession of the equinoxes, as we go through the ages, 1 degree, the same as the month, is equal to 72 years. 1 degree, 72 years. So there's a difference in scale. You'll have on a higher level, as above so below, you'll have that same degree that the sun transits for a year's time to go through all of its signs. It'll take 1 degree equaling 72 years, multiply that by 30 to go through 1 sign. So this is what you're not seeing. The equivalent value of what is above and what is below you. The values change. So you're talking about 72 years? We're just beginning our life. And we're lucky to even last 72 years. But that's a drop in the bucket, so to speak, going through the ages. 72 years is only one degree marker as it's transiting through the 30 degrees of that particular sign. So this is where it's confusing. People are confusing these systems to blending the ages to a constellational marker that is set differently in a mathematical reference. The difference between 1 degree of the sun's transit in its seasons is 1 degree per day. But that sun transiting through the ultimate ages is 1 of those degrees equals 72 years. Check it. Fact check it. You'll see that it's correct. So that's the difference between seeing the difference between what we don't understand and what we can understand if we understood, if we tried to understand. Think about that. But I'm going to interject this into what I already said earlier. But that's one of the things I needed to bring up. That is so important to see the difference between that is that we are a complicated people, and the more we use our maps to understand ourselves, the better we'll be. There is no, there's flat Earth. Come on. If you look into space, you see everything is circular. Why would you think something is flat? We are on a flat plane, but if you consider the latitudes that we're on, okay, you have latitude and longitude. And there are people that are all over the world on different latitudes. Okay? And so these latitudes slant towards or away from the sun. And they give you a different timing, which would promote the idea that you live on a flat plane. And you do. You're living on a flat plane in a circular environment. It doesn't mean that the Earth is flat. It only means that you're referencing it to a latitude point from where you are. You have to understand that. Don't confuse yourself to think that you're on a flat plane when the moon is circular and all the other planets are circular. Why would you think that you're on a flat plane. It's just ridiculous. You need to understand the mathematics of what we're made of. Everything is mathematically figured and calculated. And there is no mistake in the universe. Everything is correct. It's just that your consciousness is not thinking appropriately. So in the future, we'll review this in depth, how the moon, right now I'm analyzing the fact that the moon phases. The moon is phasing through these new moon and all these different phases, the waxing crescent and the first quarter moon, the waxing gibbous, and then you have the full moon opposite the new moon, and etc. And so when these moons phase, depending on your rising sign, you're not going to have these things consistently, and you're going to have a new moon in a different house system, and that's going to put your full moon in a different house system. You want to find what that is so you can find out how it helps to understand your individuality based on everyone else. You have things to learn about yourself instead of fighting over what's right or wrong with not even understanding it. All right, like opening a Bible that has dust on it because you don't know what it means. You haven't read it, or nor do you understand it. But yet you believe in something that you do not understand. The idea here is to take the time to understand how these tools can help you in your own advancing consciousness. That's what this is about. And so each tool has a purpose. Doesn't mean that you have to take team A or B, or you're in the shirt team and you're in the skin team. We're always fighting against who's on what team. We need to bring these teams together in a universal fashion so we can advance past stupidity and dumbness and use intelligence to promote more consciousness. This is E.J. Lassasia Sr., and I'm your astrological cosmic guide, and I hope you consider what I'm saying as we explore deeper into our tools of consciousness. Thank you.